Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this edition of Leap Project. I'm your host, Rex Bear, and we have guest Betsey Lewis with us. She is the author of several incredible books on the ET phenomenon, and one coming out here very shortly called Ancient Serpent Gods, the Alien Connection to Reptilian Dinosaurs will actually be discussed here today first, and that's coming out here very soon. If you'd like to know more about Betsey and her books, make sure to go to betseylewis.com. Betsey, hey, thanks a lot for joining us here at the Leak Project. How the heck are you?
Well, I'm great. How are you, Rex? Great to be on your show again. Thank you.
Absolutely. I know we spoke a couple years ago when I was with another outfit, and it's just great to have you here. And when we spoke before, you said some things that just blew my mind and our listeners as well. So this is going to be fantastic. I know you've had some personal experiences, and the fact that you put together several really good books. I just can't wait to hear about the Serpent God connection. And one thing I just wanted to say real quick before we get to know a little bit about you, as far as the audience that hasn't heard much about you before, is I've wondered in the past about dinosaurs and the reptilians that we hear about so much. I've thought to myself, could they have always been here, like a certain size reptilian, and then the dinosaurs mainly died off, but they were a part of the same family line? Did they evolve? Were they manipulated? But there's just been this weird thing I've been trying to connect for so many years. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and then let's jump into the ancient serpent gods.
Okay. Well, I've had lots of paranormal experiences since I was 8 months old. UFO experience when I was 8 months old with my parents on a lonely, dark road in northern Idaho. And they were buzzed by a UFO, may have been abducted because we lost 2 hours in time that couldn't be accounted for. I've had a UFO experience when I was in first grade, and I was chased home by a UFO, a huge, giant, silvery disc. I have had many psychic and precognitive visions of the future, which have come true. I have had connections with the other side. I've just had many, many things happen. And I don't know why. I think I may have inherited all that from my mother, who was very intuitive and could actually astral project. I wish I could do that, but I haven't been able to do that. But she was amazing.
You know, I actually had an out-of-body experience the first time when I wasn't even trying to. I was just falling asleep, but I was mentally still awake. And when I popped out of my body, it scared me so bad. I woke myself up really quick, and then I did it again, and it freaked me out again. So I woke myself back up. And ever since then, I've been fascinated with it, and I've researched it, studied it. I've done my best to practice certain exercises to help boost those abilities. And it's incredible. I mean, if you ever have that experience, I would definitely say there's nothing like it. It's incredible.
I had, I think, an experience like that when I was 13, and it happened so fast, kind of like you said. You were just in your body, and then suddenly, you're up looking down at your body, and it happened so quickly, but I've never had anything happen since then.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. It wasn't something that I was trying for the first time. Now, when you said you've made contact with the other side, what do you mean by that?
Well, I have had family members who have passed on who contact me all the time, either through dreams or my sister, who passed away in 2003 in Argentina, has been doing all kinds of things. She's a little bit mischievous. She likes to turn off radios. She has actually started my alarm on my car. She set it off one day. She has caused utensils to elevate in our kitchen, and she's kind of sent little messages with certain songs that when she turns off the radio, I know it's her. So it's pretty incredible. And I've had dreams about her visiting. So there's just been some amazing things, so that I know are true, that she's here and watching over us.
Have you ever seen a reptilian?
No, but I have friends that have, that shapeshifters, actually, that, the people that their eyes actually become slit, and pretty intense.
Yeah, let's talk about that. That's incredible.
Yeah. Well, like you, I've always thought, everybody is on this roll about ancient aliens, right? Or ancient astronauts. And that started with probably Eric von Daniken's Chariots of the Gods in 1968. But, it seems like every author out there in TV documentaries, it's all about ancient aliens, right? And I thought, well, how can we say that it's really ancient aliens that helped us build these megalithic structures around the world and account for everything that is, the pyramids, the Great Pyramids. There's just too many things that don't make sense. And one thing I found, which, there's just this pattern, there's this connection that there are cultures, ancient cultures all around the world that have worshipped serpent gods since, eons ago. It's even found in the Bible with Adam and Eve. So there's something to that. And, we know the lowly, snake. Why would they want to worship a snake? Obviously, I think that has something to do with dinosaurs. And there's some really interesting things that I've found about the dinosaur, and other theories that people have had about the dinosaur didn't actually die out, and that perhaps a certain species of dinosaur actually survived the extinction event 65 million years ago, which, I think is pretty interesting, isn't it?
So do you think they went inside the Earth or had some way to live out the event that killed most of the dinosaurs? Or
I think so. They were on the Earth, let's say, between 150 to 185 million years. That's a long time to evolve and become super intelligent. And the one thing that's really interesting is that paleontologists used to believe they were slow moving. Slow moving. They were unintelligent. They didn't, they were cold-blooded, but now they're thinking that maybe they were warm-blooded, maybe some of them were mammals, and they were very intelligent. So, yeah, I think they could have survived and gone underground. And that could maybe account for what we hear about all these alien abductions with reptilians and how they seem to go underground. Some people feel that they've been taken to an underground base or somewhere in the ocean, some kind of base. And about the one that they found off of Malibu. We don't know if that's really an alien base or what it is off the coast of Malibu.
Oh, I haven't even heard of that.
Oh, you haven't? Oh my gosh, yeah. They have satellite images of it. It's massive, and there's columns in front. And I've heard of so many UFOs that are actually diving into the ocean. LA is probably one of the biggest hotspots for UFOs.
Wow, LA, I had never heard that. I would think it would have been New Mexico.
Really? Well, LA is pretty amazing. Yeah.
Nice.
I know many people that have seen them there. And of course, I know who Ann Druffel is, that did a lot of research and has written several books about alien abductions, that she interviewed several people that were abducted in the Tujunga Canyon area.
Okay.
It started out in the 50s. Yeah. So pretty amazing.
Now,
and I believe that there is something out there that, they've been here. Well, why would we think that all these aliens visiting us, they came from maybe light years away, would stop and want to help us when maybe they've been here all along? Instead of extraterrestrial, they're terrestrial beings. And they were the ones that helped us. Maybe they actually created us from monkey DNA. Of course, there's a lot of differences with our DNA and monkeys. Not that, most of our chromosomes match, but there could be a lot more than that, which is kind of interesting.
So do you feel that these ancient serpent gods or these dinosaur reptilians had an influence on the manipulation of humans or the genetic interference, I guess?
Oh, I do. And, there's the stories of the Anunnaki, which some believe are reptilians. That goes back to Zecharia Sitchin, who talked about the Sumerians, who talked about the Anunnaki from Nibiru and how they came to Earth. And they may have had some manipulation in our DNA, but I think we have been manipulated. There is no other being like us. We're so different from all the animals on Earth. We have a split personality, which is called schizophrenia. No other animal has it, not even monkeys. There's just amazing things that I found that, there's so many of us out there. We're different colors, different body types, just so many things with our looks and everything, and we're just so different, all the different cultures. But we can still mate with each other, but we certainly couldn't go mate with a gorilla or a monkey. That would be impossible. So the truth is that I believe let's see, the large monkeys have 24 chromosomes and we have only 23, which is kind of interesting. But there's just a lot of things. I just think the story of evolution is so askew that they have it all wrong. The creationist, I think we've been on Earth for millions of years, not just a few thousand years, and we just suddenly became intelligent out of the clear blue. It just doesn't make sense. There's all these missing pieces, Rex, that I think, just can't be explained with evolution and what we've been taught. It never did make sense to me.
Now, it's absolutely, there's too many variables and so much missing that your mind is looking for options and alternatives, and there's just so few to choose from. And the ones that you do choose from can be more incredible than science fiction, yet oftentimes reality is stranger than fiction. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, that's why I'm so agnostic on everything now. I used to think I had all the answers, and now I'm just like, well, that looks great. That could be, but I don't know. I mean, we could be in some matrix right now where these extraterrestrials are manipulating our minds by some type of subliminal vibrational frequency. I've heard it all now. And talking to people, and talking to people like you though, Betsey, where you've actually had experiences and encounters, that's really something to take to the bank. It's not like you heard from somebody's uncle at a diner 17 years ago about Billy Bob. I mean, you've lived through a lot of these experiences and been there. So tell us some more about these serpents and archaeology or data that many people haven't had access to.
Okay. Well, I found a book a few years ago by, his name is Barclay, and he's from the UK. He's pretty amazing. He wrote a book about aliens, and it's David Barclay. I think that's from 1994. But anyway, he came up with some amazing things about aliens. And he believed, too, that the dinosaur didn't die like we've been told, and that they have had a lot to do with our genetic tampering. And I've been thinking that for a long time, and I think he's the only one that's ever talked about that, as far as I know. But everything that he starts talking about, and what I started finding too is just all these stories about serpents, and like the Hopi Indians maintain that their ancestors didn't arrive from the north, but instead climbed on the surface from the underworld. Now, there's lots of legends like that. There are dragon stories all around the world. The Chinese, the Japanese, the Germans, the Egyptians, all had serpents. And what's really amazing is, we talk about human, existence. There are these 11,000, maybe more of them, of these stones that were found in Peru. Do you know about them? Called the Ica stones.
Are those the ones that have pictures or drawings of dinosaurs and such?
Yes, yes. Well, they were originally found in the 1500s, and later came to be rediscovered again in the 60s. But what's amazing about these Ica stones from Peru is that they have carvings that are so amazing on there. It shows dinosaurs, humans riding dinosaurs and trying to kill them. It shows dinosaurs eating humans. It shows dinosaurs giving birth, live birth, to baby dinosaurs, and actually where they're suckling like mammals, because we've always been told that they're reptilians, and
they only drink blood.
They do. And that the Peruvians, the Incas, had telescopes. They were operating on the brain. They transfusions, heart transplants, it looks like. There's just incredible things. So if humans go back to when the dinosaur was around, which was 65 million years ago, there's something going on there. How can we just possibly think that we just showed up on the evolutionary path just about 200,000 years ago, as modern man? It doesn't make sense to me. It's like a piece of cheese. There's too many holes in it.
Right. So basically, instead of the reptilians coming here and doing their manipulative work, you feel that they've always been here, and that maybe we are the ones that aren't from this planet.
Well, I think we could have been from this planet, but I think that maybe they had taken, I think they're master geneticists, and they know how to create, beings. And I think they created us perhaps by maybe the ape that was evolving at the time and put different DNA in us to create modern man. So that's one hypothesis. I know it sounds crazy, but if they were the Akanaki and came here millions of years ago, that could explain. Some of them stayed, some of them left. That might explain it too. But I still think that there is that reptilian presence, and we've always known about it. And certainly, the serpents tempting Eve in the Bible, she was the one that wanted to know, about knowledge, so she ate of the apple. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I've also read the Gnostic texts that talk about these archons and the serpent actually trying to help Eve.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Do you think these archons could actually be these reptilians that made it through this evolution?
I think so. Yeah. And another thing that kind of gets me is that I think maybe the serpent became Satan, what we call the devil, with the tail. Reptilians have tails, and certainly demons from the underworld. And I think that's probably where the stories and the legends come from.
Okay.
But one of the strangest stories goes back to Dulce, New Mexico, with Phil Snyder, and his story about the gray reptilians underneath this base, and how there was a firefight between the military and these beings that were down there. So I think they exist all over the world. I think there is underground areas. We know there's caverns all over the world. And I really, really believe that a lot of these noises that we're hearing under, the booms that are being heard all around the world are something they're doing underneath the ground.
Oh, yeah. Do you remember that news article that came out from 1924, the LA Times, I think it was, where these explorers found these huge underground catacombs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, California has the biggest caverns all over the world, I think. They're just amazing. And, I know stories of the Mojave where people have been abducted, but there's caverns out there everywhere. And I'm sure the military is aware of that and what's going on out there. They've known about it for a long time. Some of these areas, I interviewed Ron Felber. I don't know if you've had a chance to interview him about the Mojave incident.
No, it sounds like a great show, though.
Yeah. The couple that were abducted by aliens, they were out there. The husband liked to hunt in 1989, and they went out there. They were just going to take a little weekend, and they went to the one area to find a place to camp, and it was all filled up, which was kind of unusual for this weekend because there was nothing special going on. So they kept driving, and they went to this canyon where he was familiar with, and they decided to camp out there. And as it was getting dark, they noticed these lights over the mountains. And all of a sudden, they saw like hundreds of lights falling. And suddenly, these lights start coming at them, and they can see their eyes, their glowing red eyes coming at them. They're sitting by their campfire, and they jump in the back of their pickup. They just had a little camper shell on there. And they were held for like 8 hours by 3 different types of beings. The Greys, even an angel came to them. And I think that might have been actually downloading their memories because they're very religious people. And so it was an amazing story. But they were regressed. And some of the things that they were told were just amazing about who they are and why they're here. Pretty interesting. But what gets me is they were taken up on a mothership. I mean, huge, gigantic. I mean, it covered the sky. And where was the military? The military always show up, right? And there's so many military bases out in the Mojave Desert, right? That there was nothing. There was no military around. So how could that be? Because they always show up. They always do. And it seems like with their, unmarked helicopters or their helicopters right after somebody had a major UFO incident.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of times people feel that they're involved with the abductions. So have you Now, do you remember seeing these beings when you yourself have had experiences with them?
I was regressed by Anne Druffel in the 80s. Both my mother and I were actually regressed by her. And I remembered being taken up, actually beamed aboard, like a lot of people, actually going through the top of the roof of our car. But I was 8 months old. So, what can we really remember? I've read so many books on UFOs and I've always been interested. I don't know if that was, if my memory was tainted because of that. But my mother told, that they heard this huge, just enormous boom, this roar that just continued when they were driving down the road. And they thought a plane was going to crash on them. And my father supposedly pulled off to the side of the road. They jumped out, looked around. There was nothing in the sky. But I think something happened, that they were actually in some kind of suspended state, where they didn't remember that. But according to my uncle, who remembered the story so well, he said it reminded him of the Betty and Barney Hill case because they lost 2 hours in time. They were driving from northern Idaho to southern Idaho to visit my family. And, where did those 2 hours go that they couldn't account for? So that's still a mystery in the family.
Jeez. And you talked earlier, too, about the mantis type, the insectoids. Some people think that they're kind of on the upper echelon of the ETs, tell the other ones what to do in the hierarchy. The research that you've done, do you feel the same way, or do you think that the reptilians are above them? Or
that's a really good question, Rex. According to so many, there's like 18 species maybe of aliens that are visiting us. And I don't think that even includes the reptilians. I think there are so many visiting us. And it's really hard to know. I know that John Lear, who has actually been on Coast to Coast, he was on with Art Bell, said that there were 18 species of aliens watching us. He said some are good and some are hostile, but some are indifferent. They think of us as lab rats. And he said that they know that the Greys are cybernetic organisms, or glorified robots. I can't say it. Robots.
You will not assimilate me.
Exactly. And, I know there's different types of Greys. They've been told that there are some that are more human, they're tall, some of the little short ones, which are more robotic. But he said that there have been many people that have been killed over the years. I guess since 1938, over 200 aircraft have been downed by UFO hostilities and thousands of soldiers in all kinds of different actions with the aliens. But what's really interesting is there's been several 100,000 civilians who have disappeared without a trace, and it's still going on. These people just vanish. And I don't know if you've listened to Coast lately about all these people that have vanished in national forests without a trace, which is pretty spooky.
Yeah, we tried to get that guy on the show, but he never got back to us.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So what's going on there? And another thing, the aliens refer to us as containers, which might be that our souls are, and our bodies are the containers. And that's the reason for their experiments. Who knows? What are they doing with our souls? I don't know. But, I think there's been many people that have been abducted and experimented on. And we know that a lot of women claim that they've been pregnant and suddenly lose the fetus, and then they're shown the hybrid baby years later, which is interesting. And, so many times the stories that they're told is our Earth is dying, the human race is dying, and that's why they're creating the hybrid race. And also that they're here for a special mission, that they're the chosen ones. Isn't that funny? They're always told that, and I wonder sometimes, are we being lied to and hoodwinked by these aliens?
Yeah, are they selling people on that? Oh, you're special, so just go ahead and take the microchip, do everything we tell you because you've been groomed for this.
Right. And, I didn't realize this. I actually investigated the cattle mutilations during the 70s and early 80s in Idaho. Yeah. And what's really interesting is that John Lear mentioned that there were human mutilations going on. And I did find a case, which is on the internet, that happened in Brazil. This body was found near a reservoir in Brazil. and the body was so mutilated. It looked like, that there were core samples taken out of the chest, which looked like laser, some kind of laser instrument that removed these, parts of the body. The eye is just like, the cattle mutilations, a part of the jaw, part of the ear. There was part of the rectum. I mean, it was just a horrible. And according to
You ever
the
heard the
autopsy,
saying, hot dogs are made with lips and assholes?
Oh, geez. I know.
The extraterrestrial hot dog. It's not
That's-
kosher, but it tastes good.
Right. That's right. Don't eat it. Don't eat it. You
No
never
pork
know.
product involved.
Exactly, Rex. But, that's kind of scary. But I don't think that's going on. I think it's happened a few times. But I think it's, the cattle mutilations have kind of slowed down, and they claim that the abductions aren't going on like they used to. And I don't think they are. And why? That's kind of interesting.
Who knows? Maybe they've got other alternatives or options now. The technology, like you said, who knows how far the advancements have been even here at home, let alone...
Right.
I mean, if we can come up with technology, you look at over the past 100 years where we've gone with tech. Now, where are these guys going in 100 years? How much can they create in that same amount of time? I'm sure it's exponential. So, another thing I wanted to jump into is your other book that you have on your website, BetseyLewis.com, Predictions 2016.
Oh, you would, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This is the Leak Project.
Okay, sure. Okay, what's your question?
Well, what are some predictions? Let's get into this for a minute. Where are we going? What's the future of America?
Well, I think, there's 7.8 billion people on the earth. And, we are using up all our natural resources. I mean, our oceans are becoming totally toxic and polluted. Plastics and radiation and oil spills and our water everywhere. Water is disappearing. We're going into, global warming. I know a lot of people say it's not true, but it is true. With droughts, we're seeing that with the fires in the West Coast. We're getting strange weather all over the world. I think that if we don't change things really quick and start honoring Mother Earth, that we're not going to have an Earth. I think Mars is a good example of what may have happened to a civilization who didn't take care of their planet. And now it's just a barren place without any life. And I think that's a good lesson for us, because we can destroy our Earth with nuclear weapons, with everything that we're doing, the chemtrails that are going on out there. I think that's probably increasing the global warming.
Oh, yeah.
And,
I mean,
yeah.
I want to jump into the chemtrails here for a minute, because when I went out to the McDonald's Observatory in Fort Davis, Texas, gorgeous out there, by the way. If you haven't been, or those that are listening to this podcast, I'd strongly recommend going. And I had a chance to talk to somebody that works there. I think he's in customer relations. You can watch the interview on leakproject.com. And I asked him about Nibiru. I asked him about chemtrails. And he, very nice guy, and he mentioned that in that specific area, he called it contrails. He didn't admit to chemtrails, which is fine. And, totally right on, real nice guy. He goes, well, there's no contrails around this area because this is a no-fly zone over this observatory. And I'll tell you, the sun does look different out there than it does in places that are heavily chemtrailed. Like if you're in Mesa, Arizona, Phoenix, or Los Angeles, the chemtrails in the sky, the checkerboard patterns, I mean, they're chem dumps to the extreme to block out certain things or whatever they're doing. I don't know. But I've noticed that there's a difference with the chemtrails, like depending on what the sun looks like. It makes it a lot more intense and extreme in places with chemtrails.
Yeah. I've been watching the chemtrails since the mid-90s and photographing them. And, a lot of times you'll see what looks like a dark shadow form on the side. And of course, you'll have a perfectly clear morning. And by afternoon, the sky was totally filled with these chemtrails. And a lot of times I've seen these, it's kind of like oil on water. You look up at the clouds or something and you'll see this kind of weird rainbow. It's just like you see with oil on water, kind of a little rainbow in there. But I think there's something going on. And I was in Belize during the 90s twice, and I don't remember seeing one chemtrail. in that area, which is interesting. But I know that I've lived in Arizona, I've lived in California and Florida, and I know that these chemtrails are just all over, and they're so heavy at times. It seems like before a weather front goes through, that they set down the chemtrails really heavy. So I think they're controlling our weather, geoengineering. I really do.
Oh, I mean, if you type in weather manipulation on Google, one of the first sites that comes up is a company that actually does weather manipulation. That's how they make money. It's a corporation, and it's not a conspiracy anymore. So it's definitely tangible. Now, when you look at this being an election year, did you make a prediction on who's going to win?
Well, I've talked about it being the year of the monkey mind, and the monkey changes its mind all the time. So we could see some very strange things happen within the next few months, too. Hillary, I don't know. I just can't see her being president, and I'm not sure about Trump either. Again, I felt that when Trump met with Bill Clinton before he decided to throw his hat in the race, that there was some agreement that they made that he would help Hillary win. With all the things he says, I've listened to him years ago and how polite he was and so intelligent in interviews. And now he's so bombastic and he says the weirdest things. It's kind of like he wants her to win. Am I not wrong?
Are you talking about Trump actually helping Hillary behind the scenes?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been talking about this now for months. I feel like
Yeah.
Trump's very exciting to watch. I mean, he's certainly got the entertainment factor, but it seems as if, in my opinion, these politicians, for the most part, they're actors. They're stage players, and the whole world can be a stage. And I've seen pictures of Bill, Hillary, and Donald hanging out together, putting their arms around each other, all happy.
Right.
And then you watch films, or not films, but series like House of Cards with Kevin Spacey, and the way that they pull these things and events, it's like this WWE event, and they're having fun behind the scenes together.
Oh, I think so. I agree with you, Rex, 100%. It's wag the dog. And so many of these events that we see, I think, are created. We're just lied to all the time about things. What is real?
It's a good
Just don't
question.
know.
It's a really good question. I'm still trying to find out what is real, because every time I think I've got it figured out, I realize I don't. Do you get a lot of pushback from people that you know, or are most people pretty open to this?
Well, I've had mixed, mostly on YouTube. I get the trolls out there that attack me. It's always something. My voice, I have allergies, I have asthma. Some days I have, a rough voice, and I get attacked about that. Some people think that I'm totally out there, and that's fine. I'm just offering my hypothesis and on different subjects, and I'm not saying that it's the honest to God truth. I think that it's got some possibilities. I'm trying to connect the dots, and I think the dots are well connected, and that's what I want people to open up their minds. I mean, we stay in these little boxes. We're afraid to get out of these boxes that we've put ourselves in, and to realize what's really going on with our planet. I think there's just so many layers. It's like an onion. You keep peeling off the layers, and there's another layer. There's just so much to our world that we don't know about. And I think there are people that are controlling us, including the aliens. We've been controlled for eons, and it's time that we awaken to the truth of what's going on.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the end of the Men in Black movie, the first one, where they go and open up this door in this underground base, and that door opens up to a bigger world, and that world opens up to a bigger world and a bigger world. So it's, like you said, this onion layer that we're in. It's quite remarkable, and the more you peel these layers, the more fascinating it becomes, yet the more dangerous it can become as well.
That's true. That's true. I've got to say, Rex, I really admire your show, and that you're so polite to your guests. I've been on some shows where people attack you. And that's their whole thing. They want to attack you. I don't mind people disagreeing, but this is out and out attacks, on what your religion is, or, that they're Christians and you're not, or something. I don't know what their problem is, but, it's sad, because we're all part of God's children, I believe. We were all created, reptilians, aliens, we were all created by one source, I believe.
Right. I would agree. There's that connection at some level if you believe in the quantum physics, quantum entanglement. It's kind of as if we're all single droplets in a giant ocean, and it's great to embrace our individuality, yet at the same time, it's also great to appreciate somebody else's opinions. And it's funny because there's so many times I read comments where somebody will say, oh, well, this guest had me until this or until that. Well, if everybody was right 100% of the time, or if even one person in the world is right 100% of the time, I want to be best friends with that person. I mean, can you think of somebody that's always right? I can't.
I can't either. Even famous psychics haven't been right. Edgar Cayce got a lot of things wrong. He got a lot of things right too, but nobody's 100% correct. And I know I'm not.
Yeah, and if we were all the same, wouldn't that be quite boring? That would literally be like a cyborg society. It would be kind of sad if everybody had the same religious beliefs, political beliefs. It's good to have differences, yet don't tread on me, and I won't tread on you. It's we got to have that balance as well.
Yeah. All here, and I think we should honor each other because we all have a right to be here. Nobody should be separated or, for their sexual preference, for their religion, for the color. I mean, we're here together. Let's stick together and clean up the earth. Let's work together to create a new world of peace and quit hating and fighting each other. It's such a waste. It's a no-win situation. It really is.
And even if you look at, some people feel that the time we're in now is closer to the end times, such as discussed in Revelation, because there's certain parables in there that you could say, well, that's happening now. For example, the first one I want to mention is the rumor of wars and constant wars, because we've been seeing that now for years. Yet at the same time, if you look throughout history, hasn't it always been that way, at least through modern history?
Yeah. And whoever created us, when I say whoever created us, I think that in the beginning we were all created by God. We were spirits, became souls, and then we went out. It's kind of the belief that Edgar Cayce talked about when he was in a trance state, and he talked about that we went out and became physical forms. A lot of the souls hovered over Earth when it was still becoming Earth, and being terraformed and everything, and actually some of the souls jumped into the monstrosities that were on Earth, the dinosaurs, which is kind of interesting. But so we are all really one. We're all connected to everything, to the earth, to the animals. I've written a book called Earth Energy, which I want people to get back to ancient wisdom about honoring our planet, because it's a sentient being and everything is alive. We forget that everything is alive. Everything has intelligence. Everything is just a part of everything else. And once we remove one thing, something else goes wrong. And we found that out many times. When we destroy a species, it causes this whole domino theory. Things just start breaking down. And we've done that many times. We're destroying the oceans with the bleaching of the coral reefs and just incredible things. So once we get back into honoring Earth, like Native Americans, they talked to the trees, they talked to the animals, they know everything is alive. And that's something that we've forgotten. We're so in tune to all our gadgets and everything, electrical gadgets and our cell phones and texting, that we forgot that there's a natural world around us.
I mean, absolutely. And the natural world around us is so much more incredible than anything you can get inside of a virtual reality computer system, no matter how amazing that can be. And it's fun to have the option to bounce into that once in a while, yet if you completely plug in to the Matrix and you can't unplug, that's when it's literally like the movie where you turn into the battery for the machine. And, I got to say, too, I look back, I'm 38, I go back 30 years when the Nintendo first came out, or about 30 years ago, and I started playing those video games. And my mind, I literally saw these video games in the future of being similar to what the PlayStation 4 is now, just the graphics being amazing, being able to be more interactive with your environment. And then when the virtual reality stuff started coming out many years ago, a friend of mine that actually worked with some, I guess you could say, not really government stuff, but classified type stuff for a corporation or for whatever, he was doing VR stuff. And I asked him a lot about it. And the only thing he could tell me was, it's some strange stuff, dude. He wouldn't tell me exactly what it was, but I could tell that it was pretty awesome. And I would see the future being this system where most people are plugging in and doing their daily activities in this virtual reality type matrix, where it's kind of like that movie Surrogate, where all you have to do is sit in your couch and be force-fed Diet Coke and genetically modified nachos with some phenylalanix gum to chew on with neurotoxins in it. But you'll be okay because you're plugged in, and even though you're 450 pounds and on pharmaceutical drugs just to keep your organs alive before they completely burn them out and destroy them, you can do whatever you want in this virtual reality world. And now this pushing of microchip society, everybody's got their cell phone on them constantly. If you're standing for more than 30 seconds, you have to pull up what's on your Facebook, otherwise you feel awkward. They're pushing this society into a transhuman movement. So I can see maybe 20 years from now, there really could be this surrogate type society.
I think so, Rex. It makes me so sad to see that people don't interact anymore with each other. They don't even know how. I mean, the kids out there texting, they don't even know how to write. When you think about what they were doing in the 1800s, the way they wrote beautiful letters. I mean, articulate and just, it flowed and beautiful. And now so many of them can't even spell. They don't even know how to spell. But we've just lost our humanness. We have. And that's so sad where we're going. And the children of the world, I just hate to see what is going to happen to them, because they're living in a toxic world where everything is dying. And, they're mind controlled with all the violence on TV, and, the video games and everything else is violence, violence, violence. They're being told to go out there and harm other people and animals and everything. It's insane. It's an insane world. It really is.
Well, right now it seems as if the overall archetype of these global leaders that think they're gods almost, or I guess you could say gatekeepers, they feed off of this dark ecstasy. You look at the pharmaceutical companies and the big conglomerates that control a lot of the food supply that goes into people's shelves and refrigerators, the companies that control most of the meat and factory farming. It's not really designed for balance. It's designed for consumerism. Take, profit, profit, profit. And don't get me wrong, profit's a good thing. It's great to be able to make money and live in a society like this. It's what you do with that money that really counts. So your work that you come up with, you charge very little for the books, and for people to go to your website and pick them up, it's not like you're going to get rich doing this. This is more for the people than it is for your pocketbook.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. I have an Earth News One blog on my website that I give all the different things, predictions of earthquakes, and if the sun is doing anything, UFO type things, just any paranormal type things going on in the world. And I never charge. I know some websites, you have to sign up and charge, they charge a certain amount. I just want to keep it free for people. I really do. And keep the cost of my books down too. I think that's important. Yeah. But you're so right about our world, and I just hope that something changes that, and maybe it's going to take something horrific to change us, to get us back to where we are, because people turn into heroes, most of them, not all of them, but people come out and help each other. You see these fires and these floods, and all of a sudden there's people helping each other. They're getting back to interacting with each other, and maybe it's going to take something big like that. It's happened throughout our historical world. There has been huge megalithic things that have happened, floods in our world. Who knows? There's even ancient, maybe atomic or nuclear wars that happened. You can find green glass, this weird green glass that is found all over the world, and it was first found in 1945 in the New Mexico desert, which is kind of interesting. Have you ever heard of it?
Not the one in New Mexico, but I have heard of some of those deserts that have that greenish colored tint glass that's probably from a nuclear type blast.
Right. And it was first found in 1945 after we started testing the atomic bomb in New Mexico. And it's found all over the world. And what's really interesting is that there are no volcanoes. There's no meteor craters to explain it. There's really nothing to explain it except atomic nuclear type weapons or bombs that went off during that time, ancient times. And of course, when you get into the ancient Indian text that tells about nuclear wars that were going on between maybe aliens and humans, who knows? But there are many stories that go way back. So maybe they say there's nothing new under the sun. That might be true, Rex.
It's certainly cyclical.
Yes, it is.
And one thing I just want to say before we close out tonight is I've actually been to Dulce a couple of times, and and I went up about 2/3 of the way up the Archuleta Mesa one day because I had a chance to meet somebody that lives out there, and he gave me a tour. I wish I could have made it up to the top. Unfortunately, I didn't have a spare tire that I felt was fit for that trip, and if I was to get a flat in that area, it was pretty off-road intense. So we made it about 2/3 of the way up, and I met a lot of the locals out there. Every local that I talked to said that one point in their life they had seen some type of anomaly, light, UFO type thing out there. And another thing that I find interesting is after that show, and I at the very end of it, I put rest in peace, Phil Schneider.
Right.
There was somebody that left me an anonymous email that said that they did a whole bunch of research into that Phil Schneider video about him coming out saying that he got into a battle with ETs and got his fingers blown off and stuff like that underground.
Right.
Well, he says, and I can't verify this, but this email said that this person did a whole bunch of research into Phil and that Phil was actually into self-mutilation and that he did it himself and he never worked for the underground, he never worked for those companies that he claimed to and a whole bunch of other stuff. So now if that's true, then wow, it's amazing what the internet can do. If it isn't true, how spooky is that somebody would actually leave me an email trying to divert attention saying that they met the family members and did research for years about it and that was just a complete staged psyop event that Phil came up with in his own mind. And you're breaking up again on us as we're talking about this important subject.
Can you hear?
No, it's just bouncing in and out. And my Skype connection, it's showing that I'm not even connected to the internet again. This is like the 12th time today that I've been disconnected on the internet while I'm talking on Skype. But fortunately, the Skype call's been staying connected. But I talk again. Let's see if we can hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Barely, yeah.
Barely. Okay. Yeah. We might have to end it a little earlier here.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's fine. You were just making a comment to close out tonight. I made that talked a little bit about Phil and the possibility of what he said on those YouTube interviews not being real, and then we started getting weird Skype disconnect again.
I don't know. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. He died under mysterious circumstances, which kind of makes you wonder if everything that the people say about him they say he was a fake would probably be just to disclaim him, that he wasn't real. But, his death was really weird. And his wife said that there's just no way he would have killed himself, committed suicide. And to hang yourself like that, there is some kind of, I don't know what it was used. I'll have to look that up again. It wasn't a rope, but it was something kind of strange, tubing of some kind that was found around his neck.
Okay, I hadn't heard of that, so that would certainly add to the speculation. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty weird stuff. But there's so many things that we don't know about out there that is kept from us. And I think a lot of that is on purpose, Rex. I think they want us to be in the dark, all this top secret. But just think, if aliens aren't aliens, but many of them are terrestrial beings, that would be a good reason why we just don't, they don't want us to know, which could change our whole history, our whole religious views, perhaps. It would be
the group
probably earth-shaking. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. And certainly the things that are going on today, the stuff that you experienced many years ago, it's just like something out of X-Files, Outer Limits, Twilight Zone. It certainly is incredible. And I really appreciate you coming on the show here with us tonight, Betsy. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you, Rex. It's an honor to be on your show.
And it's an honor to speak with you. And once again, folks, check out BetseyLewis.com. You've got access to the Ancient Serpent Gods, which is coming out June 30th. So in just a couple of days, we've got Predictions 2016 and beyond. Energy, Angels, Aliens, and Prophecy 2. Aliens, Angels, and Prophecies 1, Communicating with the Other Side. Mystic Revelations of 13. And several other books available on BetseyLewis.com. leakproject.com. Also, check out leakproject.com. If you subscribe and become a member exclusively on Leak Project, you will have access to content not available anywhere else. Subscribe at youtube.com/clandestine time lord. Stay safe and be the change you want to see. This is Rex Bear. Good night. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this edition of Leak Project. I'm your host, Rex Bear, and we have guest Betsey Lewis with us. She is the author of several incredible books on the ET phenomenon, and one coming out here very shortly called Ancient Serpent Gods, the Alien Connection to Reptilian Dinosaurs will actually be discussed here today first, and that's coming out here very soon. If you'd like to know more about Betsey and her books, make sure to go to betseylewis.com. Betsey, hey, thanks a lot for joining us here at the Leak Project. How the heck are you?
Well, I'm great. How are you, Rex? Great to be on your show again. Thank you.
Absolutely. I know we spoke a couple years ago when I was with another outfit, and it's just great to have you here. And when we spoke before, you said some things that just blew my mind and our listeners as well. So this is going to be fantastic. I know you've had some personal experiences, and the fact that you've put together several really good books. I just can't wait to hear about the Serpent God connection. And one thing I just wanted to say real quick before we get to know a little bit about you, as far as the audience that hasn't heard much about you before, is I've wondered in the past about dinosaurs and the reptilians that we hear about so much. I thought to myself, could they have always been here, like a certain size reptilian, and then the dinosaurs mainly died off, but they were a part of the same family line? Did they evolve? Were they manipulated? But there's just been this weird thing I've been trying to connect for so many years. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and then let's jump into the ancient serpent gods.
Okay. Well, I've had lots of paranormal experiences since I was 8 months old. A UFO experience when I was 8 months old with my parents on a lonely, dark road in northern Idaho. And they were buzzed by a UFO, may have been abducted because we lost 2 hours in time that couldn't be accounted for. I've had a UFO experience when I was in first grade, and I was chased home by a UFO, a huge, giant, silvery disc. I have had many psychic and precognitive visions of the future, which have come true. I have had connections with the other side. I've just had many, many things happen. And I don't know why. I think I may have inherited all that from my mother, who was very intuitive and could actually astral project. I wish I could do that, but I haven't been able to do that. But she was amazing.
You know, I actually had an out-of-body experience the first time when I wasn't even trying to. I was just falling asleep, but I was mentally still awake. And when I popped out of my body, it scared me so bad. I woke myself up really quick, and then I did it again, and it freaked me out again, so I woke myself back up. And ever since then, I've been fascinated with it, and I've researched it, studied it. I've done my best to practice certain exercises to help boost those abilities, and it's incredible. I mean, if you ever have that experience, I would definitely say there's nothing like it. It's incredible.
I had, I think, an experience like that when I was 13, and it happened so fast, kind of like you said. You were just in your body, and then suddenly, you're up looking down at your body, and it happened so quickly. But I've never had anything happen since then.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. It wasn't something that I was trying for the first time. Now, when you said you've made contact with the other side, what do you mean by that?
Well, I have had family members who have passed on who contact me all the time, either through dreams or my sister, who passed away in 2003 in Argentina, has been doing all kinds of things. She's a little bit mischievous. She likes to turn off radios. She has actually started my alarm on my car. She set it off one day. She has caused utensils to elevate in our kitchen, and she's kind of sent little messages with certain songs that she, when she turns off the radio, I know it's her. So it's pretty incredible. And I've had dreams about her visiting. So there's just been some amazing things, so that I know are true, that she's here and watching over us.
Have you ever seen a reptilian?
No, but I have friends that have, shapeshifters, actually, that, the people that their eyes actually become slit, and pretty intense.
Yeah, let's talk about that. That's incredible.
Yeah. Well, like you, I've always thought, everybody is on this roll about ancient aliens, right? Or ancient astronauts. And that started with probably Eric von Daniken's Chariots of the Gods in 1968. But, it seems like every author out there in TV documentaries, it's all about ancient aliens, right? And I thought, well, how can we say that it's really ancient aliens that helped us build these megalithic structures around the world and account for everything that is, the pyramids, the Great Pyramids? There's just too many things that don't make sense. And one thing I found, which, there's just this pattern, there's this connection that there are cultures, ancient cultures all around the world that have worshipped serpent gods since, eons ago. It's even found in the Bible with Adam and Eve. So there's something to that. And, we know the lowly, snake. Why would they want to worship a snake? Obviously, I think that has something to do with dinosaurs. And there's some really interesting things that I've found about the dinosaur, and other theories that people have had about the dinosaur didn't actually die out, and that perhaps a certain species of dinosaur actually survived the extinction event 65 million years ago, which, I think is pretty interesting, isn't it?
So do you think they went inside the Earth or had some way to live out the event that killed most of the dinosaurs? Or
I think so. They were on the Earth, let's say, between 150 to 185 million years. That's a long time to evolve and become super intelligent. And the one thing that's really interesting is that paleontologists used to believe they were slow moving. Slow moving. They were unintelligent. They didn't, they were cold-blooded. But now they're thinking that maybe they were warm-blooded. Maybe some of them were mammals, and they were very intelligent. So, yeah, I think they could have survived and gone underground. And that could maybe account for what we hear about all these alien abductions with reptilians and how they seem to go underground. Some people feel that they've been taken to an underground base or somewhere in the ocean, some kind of base. And about the one that they found off of Malibu. We don't know if that's really an alien base or what it is off the coast of Malibu.
Oh, I haven't even heard of that.
Oh, you haven't? Oh my gosh, yeah. They have satellite images of it. It's massive, and there's